Hi, and good afternoon to everyone. We have an interesting couple of sessions with me, and I'm going to tell you about Solomon and how you can use information from the Bible, from Solomon, to actually build your business and build your work life and your personal life as well. So I'm going to talk to you today about 7 values from King Solomon for incredible success at work and even in your personal life. A little bit of history about this. I've been studying the book of Proverbs now for many years, for over a decade. And this all began because of many years back, I came across something very interesting. So I'm going to tell you a little story before I go into these 7 values. I'm going to take you through 7 different values for incredible success at work as well as in your personal life. I've been applying this with my own life. I've been applying it with my clients, and we've seen some absolutely stunning success. My own business has taken a huge trajectory after I learned this and after I started applying it and putting this into my life. I've been coaching businesses now for 20 years. More than a few 100,000 people have been through my programs, and I've made companies and individuals millions, and it's been quite a journey actually. So many years ago, I read a book about this conversation about these 2 people. So a Christian author by the name of Gary Smalley and another gentleman by the name of Stephen Scott. And so Stephen Scott was going through some really difficult times, going through really hard times. His business was collapsing, his marriage was collapsing, and all sorts of stuff. And finally, he decided to talk to his best friend, Gary Smalley. And he had a chat with him and said, can you pray for me? Can you pray for me? And, I don't know what's happening. Everything's falling apart. And Gary Smalley said, okay, I'll pray about it and let's see what God has to say about this. So Gary did his prayers. He prayed about it, prayed to God. And the next day, he met up with Stephen and he said, hey, Stephen, there's something I would like you to do. He says, what is it? He says, look, the book of Proverbs has got 31 chapters. So when you look at it, you go through the book of Proverbs, it's got 31 chapters, and we have 31 days in a month. So, well, every other month. And he says, look, what I'd like you to do is read 1 chapter a day, every single day, for the month. You finish the 31 chapters, and those months where, and you do this every month, and those months where you only have 30 days, you read 2 chapters at the end. So you do this 1 chapter a day, every single day for a month, and you repeat this 12 times. Now, if you finish this and you do this, you repeat this 12 times in a year, in the next 1 to 2 years, you'll be top in your industry. And if you do this for more than, for 5 years or more, you'll be a multimillionaire. And so Stephen thought, oh well, nothing to lose, I might as well just do this. So Stephen started to do it. So he began to read the Proverbs every single day, 1 chapter. Just start from chapter 1. And he read a chapter a day, every single day. And Stephen went all the way. He didn't just do it for a couple of months or half a year or anything like that. He went all the way. He did it for 5 years. And here are the numbers. Here's what actually happened to Stephen Scott. Now, this is a guy who was going bankrupt, whose family marriage was falling apart and everything was falling apart. And here's what actually happened. Within 2 years, he went from just merely making $1,500 a month, the pay that he was taking, to $600,000 a month. And in these 2 years, his business was doing $1 million a week. That's what the business was doing. And he became a multimillionaire, of course. And after the 5 years, one of his companies did over $1 billion in revenues. So Stephen just pummeled, and Stephen Scott went through the roof with all of this. He's a best-selling author, and he's got a whole bunch of books out and all kinds of things. And this really got me thinking. I thought, this is amazing. And so I thought, okay, that's interesting that this happened to Stephen Scott. So now it's my turn. So I started doing this. Everything changed. I began to see life differently. I began to see things differently, businesses differently. Everything changed. And I started extracting values from Solomon, which I would apply at my work, and I would apply with my clients, and just everything started changing for them, for me, for everything. And it just became such a stunning thing that I started creating these talks called the 7 Values from King Solomon for Incredible Success. And I went and I spoke in churches, I did it at Christian events, conferences, all kinds of things. And every time I would talk about it, people would come back to me and say that they've had some huge increases in their life and in all kinds of things that happen. So today I want to share this. I want to share these 7 values with you, and I would like you to take it on. So what I've extracted from my work of studying Solomon for so long. and I came across the 7 of the most powerful values I've ever come across in my life, and I've applied it in my life, in my businesses, and it's time for you to do the same. Before that, a little bit of background on Solomon. So Solomon was born in 974 BC, so that's over 3,000 years ago. And just to have an idea about Solomon's wealth. So Solomon is that guy in the Bible who asked God for wisdom. When he was thinking, how do I rule the Israelites? He's like, how do I do this? And so he said he was really terrified about ruling all of these guys. And he prayed to God and said, give me wisdom. And God said, because you didn't ask for anything else, I'll give you not just wisdom, but wealth and everything that came with it. So to understand Solomon's wealth, studies have been done and a lot of research has been done. And people have estimated that Solomon's wealth in today's money is the equivalent of being a trillionaire. Not even a billionaire, but a trillionaire, and he had over billions in gold reserves. He had over 4,000 stalls of horses, 4,000 stalls and horses, and he had more than 12,000 horsemen on his payroll. Whether they got EPF and SOXO, we don't know. But that's the thing. Now imagine just to own a horse, one horse or chariot, it would cost you a bomb. And Solomon had 4,000 of these stalls of horses and chariots and everything, and 12,000 men on his payroll, just horsemen, just to ride all these horses. So his wealth was stunning. It was absolutely stunning. This is the wisest man in the world, and he had a lot to say. So Proverbs has come down to us, and that's where a lot of Solomon's wisdom is contained in the book of Proverbs. So I would like to challenge you also to read a book, a chapter a day, every day, for 5 years. And that's quite a challenge. So I'd give it to you. I mean, just do it, see what happens. Well, here's my work from that. So value number 1 is diligence. So Proverbs 22:29. Here's what Solomon had to say about diligence. The diligent man shall stand before kings. And when I first read this, I thought, wait, what's he talking about? The diligent man shall stand before kings. So this is what Solomon had to say. Now, what does the word diligent actually mean? The word diligent, if you look up in the dictionary, it means not just getting something done right, but getting it pure to the purest level and being very thorough. Being very thorough with what you do. So if you're gonna do a project, you'd be very thorough with the way you did the project. And a diligent person. So Solomon says, a diligent man will stand before kings. I thought, wow. So I looked at my own coaching business. I've been coaching businesses for so long. And I said, I'm going to be diligent in everything: marketing, sales, operations, administrative work, systems, policies, procedures, everything, right down to the very depth of it. And I went all out. And a lot of things happened to me. And I thought, wow. And what happened over time was I started getting calls from the heads of industries. So these are the kings that we're talking about, the captains of industries, CEOs of companies, big companies. Some of my clients, Maseng, Nazar TTDI, SimW Property, Nike Sales Malaysia, Groupon Malaysia, these are all my clients. And these are people who approached me. So they came to me and worked with me, and right now one of the huge companies I'm working with is called IQI. When I first started working with them, they were in about 3 or 4 countries, and today they're in more than 15, 16 countries. They've got a real estate agency all over the world, and all kinds of things were happening. I was thinking, wow. So the more diligent I became, the more big companies started sourcing me out. Businesses would come to me and say, can you coach our teams? Can you coach our leaders? Can you do this? Can you do that? So small businesses, big businesses, medium-sized businesses, and all kinds of things happened. My TV shows went on for 2 years. I've had a radio show that's been going on with BFM now for 10 years already. And so this kept going, and I was like, wow. Then I began to teach this to my clients, to become extremely diligent in what they do. So let me give you an example how diligence actually looks like. Let's say you want to put a billboard advertisement in the federal highway. That's going to cost you about 300,000 ringgit or 400,000 ringgit or something like that. And you're going to put it up. Now, how do you know your ad's a good ad? So you want to be diligent here. You want to make sure you get it right. So being diligent means you get it right. You're very thorough and you get it right. So guess what you do? You test about 10 to 15 different ads in various media. The ad that works the best, gives you the best responses in sales, that ad becomes the billboard. So that testing and measuring is a form of diligence. So another example I give you, let's say you've got 2 telemarketers. Telemarketer A picks up the phone and calls and calls and calls, and he perseveres. He perseveres and calls and tries to get some appointments. Telemarketer B is a diligent telemarketer. He does it differently. He calls and calls, gets no results, he changes script. And he changes his script again. He doesn't look at perseverance, he looks at script changing. and he perseveres with the different scripts, and he may come up with about 7 or 8 scripts, and the script that works the best, that's the script he will use to get all his appointments. That's the difference. So my question to business people is this: how diligent are you with your marketing? Now, if you take a look at business, all of business eventually comes down to only 2 things. Whatever business you run, whether you're running a hair salon, or you're a manufacturing company, you're a listed company, you could be in telco, you could be in any kind of business, everything eventually comes down to only 2 things. And what are the 2 things? Capturing and keeping customers. That's it. Everything you do comes back to capturing and keeping customers. So my question is, are you diligent in coming up with those strategies, tactics, methods, operations, team members that you work with to capture customers, well, and find out what's working, and to keep the customers you've got coming back again and again and again? So you see, this is an example of this value from Solomon, diligence. So I hold this value very close to my heart, and I tell my clients, you've got to do the same. You want to go all out with this value. You want to be very diligent in everything. For instance, if you're going to recruit staff, don't just put an ad out and take whoever you can. You want to be diligent. You want to do a reference check. You want to check how this person performed previously. You want to give them scenarios in your office and say, can you handle this? How would you handle this? What would you do? What are the 4 or 5 things you would do to get the result? So you're diligent again. So this should become a habit. This should be a habit in your life. Now, guess what? As you become more and more diligent, everybody wants you for them, for their business. If you're whatever business you're doing, the customers want to do business with you. If you're an employee, your bosses want to promote you. They want to move you up because you're very, very diligent. So the diligent man shall stand before kings. Absolutely brilliant wisdom from Solomon. And that's the first value. Value number 1. So the many values from Solomon's, I've extracted the 7 best ones, the ones that had the biggest impact on me in my life. There's so many more, but I'm going to give you 7. And that's value number 1.